So here we are at the Anyway podcast again. We haven't done one for a really, really, really long time. I've been working and everybody else has been up to their eyes with a pile of other bits and pieces. But today we have Murlock Murphy up to have a chat about loads of different things like deregistering and what the hell's going on in the south of Ireland, etc., etc. So we'll get into that now and we'll talk about that and see where it takes us. Right. Do me a favour and tell me a wee bit about everything that you're doing in the south and what's going on, really.
I'll tell you how and I'll tell you why.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, my journey here started probably as far back as 2013, something around there. The whole country, down the south, we were all protesting the privatisation of our water. If you remember.
Oh, is it privatised? I didn't know that.
It is. But we were protesting that at the time. We were protesting the most hated company at the time was Irish Water, and there was unity on the matter, you know. There was solidarity with the people, you know. We all wanted to say no to Irish Water. And what started out as a small groups of protesters, you know, it just suddenly exploded, you know. And yeah, I used to protest with that, but I used to protest as a citizen of Ireland Incorporated. You know, I thought that.
What does that mean? Sorry.
Well, Ireland is a private company.
As a country.
Yeah. Ireland.
Right.
Ireland is it's a crown title actually, and it's a registered company.
As in a
and
royal.
it's a bankrupt basket case as well. You know. So
yeah.
So, but I didn't know at the time. I thought that, you know, if anyone asked me, you know, I would have said that I'm a proud citizen of Ireland.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that, yeah, I've got this wonderful constitution, you know,
you guys
that I can rely
yeah.
upon, you know,
yeah,
and everybody
absolutely.
can, you know. So we were all protesting in that state of ignorance at the time. But what I did, along with protesting with the people, was it came to my attention that the government had introduced a levy to our motor tax policy, our motor tax, and it was to go to Irish Water. And I thought to myself, well, if I'm protesting Irish Water, well, why would I pay this levy, you know, on my motor tax, you know? Now, I didn't know anything about how you're supposed to protest or whatever at the time, but I went into the county council to tell the lady in the county council that I was refusing the offer of taxing my car.
The offer.
Well, it is. Everything is an offer.
Or a contribution, as they like to say.
Yeah. So I told her that I was refusing the offer on the grounds that there was a levy put on that was going to Irish Water, and I'm protesting Irish Water. And I was pretty sure that it wasn't only my right to protest unjust and unfair taxes, but I actually thought it was my duty to do so. So I thought that, no, I'm going to do this. And she was kind of surprised, and she said, no, you shouldn't do that because, you know, you're going to get in trouble. And I said, no, like, you know, I'm living in a functioning democracy. Like, so what's going to happen in my mind was, I thought, like, you know, that I'll meet the guards on the road and they'll inquire as to why my car is not taxed, and I'll explain to them, and then they'll give me an invitation to the courthouse where I'll go and explain it to the man acting as the judge. That's what I thought would be the outcome, but that's not how it works in the fascist state, you know, that we find ourselves. It's their currency is hurt and harm, and their protocol is to just, you know, beat you up, pepper spray you, break your bones, rob your car.
I've been really shocked, actually. I always looked at the south of Ireland to be a place more free than what we have here in the north.
It is.
Because of our affiliation, obviously, with the Crown and all that jazz. No. But to see what's happening in the south now to the people of Ireland, you know, the indigenous people of Ireland, and how they're being treated by those elected officials who are in the, is it the Dáil? Is it the Dáil? The Dáil,
yeah.
The Dáil.
Yeah.
So those elected officials, Sinn Féin, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and any of the other ones, they just seem to be out to take advantage of the people for a globalist agenda. It's really shocked me, especially over the last 4 years. The last 4 years has been a massive wake-up call for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so to see what's happening down there, you know, with that, the whole legal system and everything else.
Ireland is a lovely country as long as you don't say no. If you say no, you will receive.
Seems that way.
Yeah, no, you will receive abuse immediately, and that's why I say to people, if you are ever intending on protesting, in Ireland, like if you don't want to be disappointed, you have to expect abuse.
Yeah,
That's the way it is.
from the very people that are meant to be there to ensure that you have your God-given inalienable rights and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah, well, they're acting politicians.
Yeah.
They're not. They're contracted to do a job, and their job is to be trustees for the state.
Yeah. The people.
No, the state. The state is not the people.
Okay. I take it is the state not meant to be representative of the people? No, I'm ignorant to this. So.
No, the state is what's sovereign, and the state gets its sovereignty from the people. The people have exchanged their sovereignty for a welfare state of benefits and privileges.
Yeah.
So the sovereignty is with the state, and the state is not the people. The state has three branches. It's the legislative branch, the judiciary, and the executive branch, which will be the public face of state, which will be whichever the people elect, to be their attorneys, basically.
The puppets, the people that we get to see, the customer-facing types.
Yeah, but each of those people, before they take their position in office, they have to sign a contract to the state that they will fulfil their duties to the state, their fiduciary duties, their trustee duties to the state.
And not to the people. Not
to the people, no. And each of those politicians would have 10 legal advisors.
Makes you wonder what the hell an election is about.
Well, it's a selection. There is no election. That's why they're called polling stations. It's a poll. You're polling for which CEO you want as your position. In position to. So
it's more of a. Would you say it's more of a tool for them to gauge the room before they install whoever they want to install.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly, so that's to mitigate social unrest, effectively. Okay.
Yeah, they're there just to give the people the illusion that they have some sort of a say in how things are run, but they don't. As you see, it doesn't matter who you put in. The agenda continues in the same direction anyway. Always has. It just gets worse and worse, and it's accelerating now. Unfortunately, it's always all my life. Everything has always gotten a little worse and a little worse. But it's accelerating now, like as we see, So
the whole thing really does, as I say, before 2016.
Yeah.
I would have said that 2016 was the beginning of my awakening.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I was completely ignorant, and programmed.
Yeah.
So I would have very much believed everything that the television told me, or the radio told me, or an elected official told me.
Yeah.
That whatever they said was gospel and everything else. So to watch society, not to sound too dramatic, crumble the way that it is and what's happening. It really has me sitting on the edge of my bed at times. With my head in my hands, thinking, what the hell is going on? There's meant to be a democracy. We're meant to be voting in these people that are there to allegedly represent us, our will, our traditions, our cultures, and everything else, and laws. But really, it all just seems to be a complete farce.
Yeah, it is. Well, they do represent you. They represent as you. They are your attorney. They are your voice. They are your opinion. And that's the tragedy. That's the tragic situation. Like, if I do want to know your opinion, I'll go and ask your attorney.
Yeah.
And he'll tell me that you're very happy with the agenda and your open borders and your stratospheric aerosol injection and your water fluoridation and all the things. Yeah.
Do you guys have fluoride in your water in the south still?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh wow! Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, fluoride's toxic.
It is, yeah.
Why they ever thought it would be a good idea to stick it into drinking water, is.
Yeah, they don't think it's a good idea. They know fine rightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing it maliciously.
Are they open about it in the south? Are they open that they fluoridate the water, or do they try to hide that?
They don't mention it really anymore. Actually, they don't mention it, but it is common knowledge, and yeah, it's as I say. Look, all we're hearing about is problems. Everybody's pointing at problems, and there's a risk. There's a real risk and danger. We're going to drown in information if we don't do something now.
I agree with you. We have so much at our fingertips.
Yeah.
And there's so many different paths to follow. You know, and it's very, very difficult to pick the right path. It's like one of them. You ever remember those things you would have got at school as a kid? You know, join the two ends of the line, and there are all these squiggly lines. You have to try and get,
Yeah.
you know, and the information. You know, if you want to get your end result, proper democracy, and all that kind of stuff, everybody living in harmony, etc., etc., etc. You know, you've maybe 1,000 different paths, and those 1,000 different paths is the massive tidal wave of information that just seems to send you on red herrings all the time. Just seems to send you.
Well, for me, I think that mankind's problem globally is legal. I think this is our problem. It's the system that we've all been birthed into.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a system of no morals. And I would say that the correct direction for each individual would be away from legal. Whatever the direction is your own.
Okay, so it's up to the individual, effectively.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just as long as it's away from legal and back to law.
I'd love to learn more about that. One of the things that I've seen on your page was deregister. You know, what does that mean exactly? Deregister. Well, just for voting.
Yeah, initially it would be the very first step of mankind's journey, because each country is not just here on this island, but France and Germany, Spain, Holland, all the other countries, they've all adopted de facto state constitutions, legal contracts.
Okay.
After the war. You know, we've had one after a civil war, a state is formed out of necessity with a temporary government.
Yeah.
And what's supposed to happen is when the people are ready to reform their nation lawfully, they're supposed to collapse the state. And how you collapse the state is the majority would say no to legal, because legal requires consent.
Okay.
So.
And is it the legal? I know nothing about this stuff, so you're teaching me stuff today. The legal system effectively is what binds us all, you know, to
with your consent.
Okay, but we accidentally do it through consent. We realise, or we're consenting for it, but we don't realise we're consenting for it. Really,
you've been programmed into believing that this is a privilege and an honour to do so.
Yes.
So you leave the state programming regimes.
Yeah.
And you register yourself, because it's a slavery system. It's a bondage system, bondage by consent. And slavery has been abolished in 1865, but slavery by consent is legal. So that's how it works.
That's how they get. Yeah. Well, one of the things that I've really got upset about. Now, I pay 40% of my salary to tax. So 40% of everything that I earn goes to tax. Mm-hmm. I'm taxed on my fuel. I'm taxed on if I drink beer, the beer I go to have, or if I go on holiday, I'm taxed, or if I inherit something that the people that had bought that were taxed, I'm taxed on that as well.
Yes.
You know, and I suppose that's all part of that system that you're entering into. You know, you're entering into it, but you don't realise that you're doing it by consent.
And unfortunately, they're using all your hard-earned tax money to further the agenda.
Yeah, absolutely.
2030, 2050 agenda.
Yeah.
And the really horrible part about the whole scenario is that, you know, because you probably wondered, like, how come when, say, I don't know, any politician is found to be committing treason almost against the people, like, how come that they're never held to account? And the horrible part about that is it's you're the one that's converting to fraud.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything wrong. You're consenting to the system of no morals. You're fueling the system, and because you're fueling it, you're deemed to consent to it.
Yeah. So by accepting it, we are effectively validating that contract as such, from a legal perspective.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I never really thought about that stuff before. So they're legally treating us the way they're treating us.
They're doing nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong.
Couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, I know, but that's the horrible part about it. That's why I find it so difficult to convey the message, because immediately when you explain this to, you know, in general, people are automatically defensive, you know, when you tell them something they don't want to hear.
I find that.
So that's my problem then, you know, because the message I have is a bitter pill to swallow, you know, because the joke's on you. Nobody likes to be in that position.
I've been swallowing bitter pills since 2016, and I'm just waiting for this sweet one to come along, especially with me not having sugar anymore, and I'm still not getting any. They're just all bitter pills.
Yeah, well, the sweet one is the solution, because it's simple, it's peaceful, it's lawful, logical, feasible.
Tell me about that.
Mass deregistration, just collapsed the state, you know. And rather than looking to the other countries
Yeah.
where you have no jurisdiction, concentrate on the ground you're standing on, you know. Create a ripple effect, because this needs to happen globally.
Yeah.
Mankind globally must say no to legal. Return to systems of accountability. The scum will disperse naturally.
Do you think that to do that would bring us back to a place of autonomy, effectively, where it would bring us back to a place where we have more control?
You'll be served. At the moment, you're being ruled.
Yeah. Because
It's
you hear
like-
people talk about, because I've done it, I'll be honest, I've done it with the police here in Northern Ireland, where they've pulled me over and they've asked me for my life, and I said, no, I don't answer questions. I copy some of these guys on YouTube and stuff. I don't answer questions. What do you mean you don't answer questions? I don't answer questions. You know, and I've got into a bit of a heated debate with some police. They're not officers, by the way. They're constables, because they haven't sworn, they haven't been given a Queen's Commission or any of that stuff.
Okay.
Or from what I hear, anyway. And I had an argument with them at the side of the road, and they've just pulled me just for the sake of pulling me, because I drive big kind of monster trucks and big kind of outlandish things. I was looking at your truck when I came in there. I was like, oh, nice. You know, but that's the kind of stuff I like to drive, so I get pulled over quite a bit. But and I've had the argument with at the side of the road, you know, I don't answer questions, etc. And they have kind of come back with that. And I've said, look, you work for me. You are a public servant, but listening to what you're saying right now, technically, although that's meant to be that way, really they don't. They work for the state. Even here in Northern Ireland.
Yeah. Look, if you're a citizen of the state, you're the lowest of the law. You're the lowest ranking member of that state.
And that's why a police officer's account is held in a higher regard in a court of law than what you, the citizen, would do.
They'd be a citizen, but they'd have dual capacity.
Okay.
You don't have that.
Right.
Yeah, it's a horrible situation, but it's nice to know that the solution is there. You know, it's for the people to wake up in unison and realise.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you find in the south that people are waking up in larger numbers now than they ever, or do you feel that they're becoming informed but not as informed as they think they are?
They're awake, but they don't know which way to go.
Okay.
Yeah, they're still following legal peddlers in
Okay.
essence. You know, there's people, you know, I call them Pied Pipers, you know, they're leading people in circles in a de facto state. It's just a black hole, like, there is no solution here.
Yeah.
And they're there, you know, vote for me and I'll do this and I'll do that, you know. And
It's that political system.
yeah.
I'll not talk about any political parties. I've just recently been kind of chatting and or involved with a political party here in the north, and it's really just because I like their manifesto and everything else. But as I say, I'm not going to who they are or whatever else. But and I'm semi involved in it, but at the same time I'm like, why am I involved in it? Because it's not going to make any difference.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I still have that kind of distrust in the system, because you look at the elections and or the people that have been, look at Rishi Sunak in the UK, look at his predecessor, they were just placed, nobody voted them in.
No.
You know, there was no proper democratic election process. They just kind of, yeah, that's okay, I'll take a job. Take it. What the hell's going on? You know, it's meant to be that we have that system in place, and to anyone's eye, I think anyone that can think critically anyway, they're bound to be able to look at that and say, hold on a minute, I didn't vote for them. You know, what the hell's going on? You know, and I think people are starting to see that, but they're not, as you say, they're not doing very much about it as such.
There's people with political aspirations that they're blocking the truth. Like, what I'm saying is the truth.
Yeah.
Whether the people accept it and use it, that's another matter, but it is the truth, and if it's the truth, it belongs with the people.
Yeah.
And there's people blocking that truth just for their own, because they have their own opinions.
Yeah.
So people's opinions are blocking truth. It's
an ego thing. I think in a lot of instances, you know, that people don't want. Some people will say, "Oh, I'm happy to hear your side of the story. I'm happy to hear what it is that you have to say." You know, and they'll listen to it. But really, what they want inevitably is their opinion coming out of your mouth.
Mm.
You know, they don't want their opinion to be changed because they're kind of transfixed on that what they have formed over a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the most liberating things for me over the last while, just you're talking about legal and everything else, has been, I used to be very opinionated.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by opinionated for me is, I know that it has a definition, but what it means for me is, if I had an opinion, nobody was going to change my mind.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. My opinion was going to stay, and that was it. If it offended you, I didn't care. If it offended you, I didn't care.
Yeah.
But one of the most liberating things for me over the past, since 2016, has been the ability to have my opinions and beliefs questioned.
Yeah.
Accept that, and if the facts are presented and they prove that my opinion or something I believe for years,
Mm-hmm.
like Santa Claus,
Mm-hmm.
that was outrageously, tragic to hear that he's not real. And that's I only heard this last year. But that's things like that. So I've learned to accept that and be happy with it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not happy with it, but content with the fact that if the facts are presented, facts are black and white. They don't care about your feelings, any of that kind of stuff. Man's a man, girl's a girl, all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
That's been one of the nicest things for me, and also one of the most horrible things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to try and change your mind, and I've realised you can't do that. So I don't do that now.
Yeah.
What I do is I present the facts to you, and I know that your subconscious is going to analyse this whole conversation afterwards anyway, and your subconscious your gut will digest the facts if they're true, and there's not very much you can do about that, So it'll override your opinion, really. If I try and change your mind here and now, it's probably impossible to do in general with people,
I think people get offended, don't they?
It's defensive again. They're defensive. They're automatically defensive.
Yeah.
Aye. Because it's the nature of man, isn't it?
Mm.
So.
I'm with you. So you see the whole deregister thing and not getting involved with legal and trying to do it in a sovereign way. Is that like that sovereign citizen kind of a scenario? Is that a similar thing, or am I way off?
A sovereign citizen is an oxymoron anyway.
Right, okay.
Because the citizen, as I say, is the slave of the state, So,
okay.
No, sovereignty is really, it's individual, It's one man on your own doing what you want. How would you say? It's just like this is a simple subject. It really is.
Yeah.
It's just
hard to explain.
Yeah, but to put it into your language, you're the electrical engineer.
Yeah.
And
okay.
You'll be able to make this. You'll be able to embellish this, but the electorate are fueled by the voters. So each voter is 1 volt.
Okay.
Of the electricity required to fuel the de facto state. And I say, rather than protesting, it's the right of the citizen basically to shout at your slave master for longer chains, really is about all you can expect. But rather than protesting, we have to become a resistance, and we have to build up enough capacity to trip the switch.
Yeah.
So that's all. It's just a matter about getting the majority to realise, that you're converting a fraud,
Yeah.
And you're not reinventing a wheel, by the way. You're just actually you're returning to law.
I think it's a comfort thing with people. People are comfortable where they are. They're comfortable with their with their phones up to their faces. They're comfortable with their computers and their online shopping. And the convenience of all that stuff. And I think a lot of it, and this is probably a weapon that the state use, is the whole bread and circuses thing. Always boils back to that that Roman Empire kind of.
That's right.
Give them bread and circuses, for they will not revolt, and all that jazz. My wife asked me about, well, how often do you think about the Roman Empire? And I was like, well, and I started to talk about it. And she was like, because apparently all of us men think about it, and I never really thought about it before until she asked a question.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems to be that we're in a closed loop of convenience, and a lot of people don't want to upset the apple cart because they enjoy getting their delivery from Amazon and whatever else. So a lot of them don't want to upset it. And it can be painful. This journey can be very painful from what I can see anyway, it has been for me. It's been very uncomfortable. You know, the bitter pills, or the red pills, they say it. I don't like to say red pill because then that's giving you just two sides, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the analogy that I'll use just in this instance. You know, the whole kind of, they've just been nothing but bitter pills, because it's kind of, I'm unlearning everything that I was force fed in the education system, in society, on the television. You know, it's horrific.
Yeah.
It's horrific, and it is difficult to digest. And I think that's what's probably stopping a lot of people, rather than them just not wanting to do it. I think that's what's stopping a lot of them.
What percentage would you guess are at your level of realization right now?
I would say it's frighteningly low.
Would you really?
I would say it's frighteningly lower than what we think. I think now, you can question yourself, and then question that, and then question that, and it just never stops. It never stops. You know, you can have conspiracy theories and all this kind of stuff. Conspiracy theory to me is just facts that are just kind of 6 months early. You know, that's really what a conspiracy theory is, and that they try to give it this really toxic label so that you don't believe anything that's been said.
Tinfoil hat. Right?
Yeah, tinfoil hat. Yeah, this should be a tinfoil hat. This should be made out of tinfoil.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's it's probably a lower number than we realise. I think that it might be made to look like it's a larger number.
Okay, but I don't think we need a massive number.
Is it 10% or 8% of the population? If they were to rise up, that'd be enough.
I don't know the exact figure, but I know it's not a lot. In that, you know, speaking of analogies again, like, you know, I'm from the countryside myself, you know, and I've seen, you know, animals move all my life, you know, and we're a herd-like species ourselves, you know, so we move the same way as a herd moves, and it only takes a small amount of a herd to move away, and the grazers stop grazing and they follow. But see, that's why, you know, if you start telling people what to do, like, I'm not telling people to deregister. I'm telling you about deregistration, and I'm telling you why I think it's a good idea. And
sharing information.
Yeah, because if you try and tell people what to do, they just won't do it.
Yeah. They get that militant thing, don't they?
Yeah. So, well, animals are the same, like, you know, they go against, you know. So if you just leave them in their natural state, and that's how they move, a small percentage moves. Yeah. The grazers just stop grazing and they follow. It's a phenomena, you know, and that's why I think you have to just put your faith in nature, you know.
Yeah.
If you know that this is the correct thing to do, to remove your power from, because they're using your power to further the agenda. So if you're not cool with that, and you know it's right for you as the man to take your power away, so at least you know in your own, because your state of mind is the only state of any importance anyway in the universe. So if you can have, exactly.
It's only about real estate that we have any control over, really.
Yeah, so if you can just remove your power from that system, and you know that that's the correct thing to do, so do that, you know, and try and wake another one to maybe, you know, realise the same.
That's kind of been my. I have a LinkedIn. It's not a channel, but what do you call it? Social media kind of page as such, and I use that. I use it for the purposes in which it's designed, you know. But at the same time, I also use it as a tool to cast a large net as such. You know, so the way I look at it is, even if people disagree with anything I say, I'm happy that I have kind of sowed the seeds. Like, you know, like a farmer, we don't do crops, but like a farmer, if he seed drills a field, you know, he knows that it's not all going to be successful. Not all of the seeds are going to be successful. Yeah. You know, so, but it only takes one or two. Yeah. You know, and then next year's crop will be bigger again. But you know, that's kind of that effect. Yeah. I think that kind of speaks to what you're talking about. It's about planting a seed as such and allowing people to grow at their own pace, rather than you force feeding them it, you know, and saying, right, look, you have to learn this, you have to learn it now. You know, we are in dire straits at the minute, and we need more people to wake up as quickly as is possible. But different people digest things at different rates, like education we were talking about earlier. You know, and that's...
Well, I think that there are people now, you know, trying to convince the public, like, to vote for them, you know, to put them into this system. And I I'm adamant like that there's an onus upon these people
Yeah.
to enter into debate on this subject, but they seem to think that they don't have to.
You talking about the people that are asking for your vote?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
They seem very shy to talk.
They seem very shy, and it makes you wonder. Why are you going into politics if you're afraid of live debate? Like that's what
I would say
politics is.
It's because they know they've done wrong. They know.
I don't think you can really argue with what I'm saying.
No.
Because I'm not looking for votes. I'm not trying to be everyone's friend.
Yeah.
It's a very simple and easy position for me to be in here. It's just to say this is the facts. These belong to the people, and
that's why they don't want to debate you. I
Yeah.
would say is because you're producing factual information that anyone out there who will take a second, just to digest, will appreciate and be, well, that's just facts. This guy's just talking facts.
Yeah.
I'm totally on board with this guy. So they don't want that kind of debate. They want to come in with their usual rhetoric. They want to come in.
And I get people saying as well, oh, whatever you do, because I ask everyone to please, have a conversation with me, and people would say, oh, don't talk to that one anyway, she'll throw you under a bus. I'd be there, hey, the truth will stop any bus dead. And there's other people there, and they've got massive amounts of charisma, and they've got all the word salad and stuff, that's no good against
Still
the truth.
The facts are the facts.
It's not going to help against the facts.
What's the saying? That a lie will have travelled around the world twice before the truth gets out of bed. Is that one of the sayings? Isn't it? Yeah. So a lie will travel quicker. I always say to people, I'll give a bit of an explanation. I was talking to a guy I hadn't seen. It's kind of it's not lies, but people are more inclined to believe. If I went to a friend and says, "Oh God, I've got cancer in my toe," I went, "Oh, that's terrible. It's absolutely terrible."
Better tell everyone that.
I'll tell, and they tell it. Yeah. But if I go to him and say, "You'll not believe it. I just won a contract for £1 million." Wouldn't believe it. They're more inclined to believe the negative as opposed to the positive. It seems to be a trait in humans.
Yeah, I suppose in the newspapers and the news in general, is just proof of that.
Yeah.
It's all bad news. Because good news doesn't sell, does it?
No. It really doesn't. And it's kind of it was that whole fear mongering as well. Fear sells. Fear and sex. Fear and sex. Those are kind of the two things that sell.
Right.
I would say. You look at how they utilised the whole fear to control people during the great sniffles of 2020.
Yes,
indeed. Or the scamdemic.
Yes.
Which is becoming more and more evident as time goes on that we aren't conspiracy theorists after all. And we were right to question a rushed alleged vaccine, an mRNA therapeutic.
Exactly, to be precise, yeah.
For a flu that had an over 99% survival rate for anyone under the age of 75. In other words, it was a SARS-CoV-2, which is a severe acute respiratory system disorder. It really is just something that and all flus change, etc., etc. So we were all given off about that, but I'm going off on a bloody tangent.
No, not really.
But they use that
relative,
fear.
yeah.
They
But
use
you
that
see,
fear.
there you go. Like the people that basically forced that on the people almost, or coerced, or because that's the thing. They didn't force it at the end of the day. Everybody took the jab.
So they did, yeah. So they did, and I actually feel for. There's categories of people during that period. There's categories of people during that period, and we're just talking about fear and controlling everybody. The categories of people during that period were those that took the jab because they felt that they were doing good for society and their neighbour and their granny. They weren't bad people.
No, absolutely not.
They're good people.
Yeah.
There were those that took the jab just to go to Benidorm.
That's
or,
right.
or wherever, because they'd spent 10 grand on this holiday. God, I don't want to lose this holiday.
Yeah.
So they were over a barrel and
they want to go to the pub or whatever.
Exactly.
Personal reasons,
and they're not bad people either. They're a bit weak.
Yeah.
But they're not bad people either. And then you had the people that took the jab for social media clout. You had those people, and those people were also they tended to be the same people that would have been, "You're an anti-vaxxer. I hope you die," and all that. I mean, I've had it online. I've had on one of my posts I had 9,000 odd comments,
right.
And there were quite a few, and they were like, "Oh, I hope you die," and "I hope your family dies," and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, "Look, it's bodily autonomy. I'm choosing to opt out at the moment. Look, What does it matter to you if you've been vaccinated?
Mm-hmm.
You crack on with whatever jungle juice is running around your system at the minute,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope that it goes well for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not wishing you any ill will or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll take my chances with a cold or the flu, you know. And it was crazy. So that would be the categories of people, and I think that the governments and those other nefarious entities are happy to try and use this, still even to this day, as a divisionary tool of the unvaccinated and the vaccinated. They still try to keep us all apart.
Divide. They have to always create divide.
And conquer.
And they have to keep people in either a state of fear or anger or both. They're two low vibe states, you know.
Yeah.
People can't make decisions when they're in those states of mind, you know. If you're angry or if you're afraid, you're not going to be able to make the decision that you need to make.
Reasonable decisions.
Yeah, logical decisions,
Mm-hmm.
an engineer's decisions.
Exactly, and that's one of the things that myself and Terence would talk about a lot is, you know, being engineers, you're logical, you know, and it's to a fault almost. You know, I can't see. I don't like grey areas. You know, if somebody said there's grey area, well, it's either this or it's this. Which is it? You know, and then we'll look at the facts. And
Well, then the law is for you, isn't it?
it seems to be.
Yes.
Although I know nothing about it, so.
Well, the law is black and white. The law is simple. The law is really simple. You
Yeah.
do not hurt, harm, or injure your fellow man.
Yeah.
Now, if you're wanting to go into the more complex, you know, I don't know, you've got common law and all this stuff, but you do need all these written laws, you know, your common laws, but that's really for conducting commerce.
Yeah.
You know, it's not for the man or the woman. It's like I say, like you know this, you don't rely upon any book for your rights as a man.
Yeah, well, I
All
never
you-
look at anything yet.
Yeah, but all you do is you don't hurt, harm, or injure anybody, and you're okay.
Yeah.
But if you want to do business, like, you know, it's like I say, you can do business legally or lawfully. We're doing business legally at the moment, and as we say, there's no morals in that business.
Absolutely not.
So we just want to return to a lawful system, because the contracts that we're using, these constitutions, they're written in legalese. They're written for the person, and I ask you, are you fluent in legalese?
Nope.
Neither am I. So why are we accepting to use a legal contract that we're not even fluent in the language?
Yeah, like we don't understand.
Yeah,
so it's not even.
So what I want for the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker is I want them to have a lawful contract where they can, like an instruction manual, rather than a rule book. You know, to just conduct your business lawfully. Yeah, but we're not reinventing the wheel. You're just going back to the system that's already there, with the knowledge you have. You know, and nobody's losing their jobs. The civil servants that have their positions in their offices, they remain in those positions. It's just that we're changing the terms and conditions of employment now. You are now accountable and you are now sackable. Who would have a problem with that?
Absolutely nobody in their right mind, really. You know,
unless you were amoral, like, you wouldn't have a problem with that, would you?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So
you know, accountability, as you rightly pointed out earlier when we were chatting, that seems to be the main thing as to why they're so brazen in doing what they're doing, is that they know that they're not going to be held accountable. They're not going to be shuffled out to the guillotine or the hangman's noose or whatever, you know, or even paraded in front of the public to be hit with tomatoes and whatever. So
well, you see, I don't know about your own. You've got some sort of Commonwealth constitution, I suppose, up here, but this contract, this slavery by consent contract that we've inherited down in the south, I think it's actually a Luciferian agenda.
If you'd have said that to me, I'll be honest, if you had said that to me a year ago, I would have probably quaffed at that, you know, and would have thought, in my mind, I wouldn't have done it to you, you know, to your face. In my mind, I went, oh, God. But do you see, as time has passed, and I have seen the things that I have seen, especially with the LGBTQIA trans agendas and all that kind of stuff, what else can it be?
Well, I was just going to give you the examples that I believe, you know, prove that it is Luciferian. You see, they have rules.
Yeah.
You know, so there's 3 rules. Rule number 1 is they must give you clues that the agenda is Luciferian. And I say the devil era is one clue. It's the devil era regime, as I call it. I believe that's a clue, along with, you know, the 666 that they put on the telephone numbers on the patrol cars.
Yeah,
I say that these are your clues, and many more in broad daylight. Second rule is that they must tell you what their agenda is Well, they do. You just turn on the government propaganda mouthpiece and they speak about nothing else, only their agenda.
Yeah.
Rule number 3, and it's the most important rule, you must consent. Well, you do through your sign of nature when you registered your consent at the legal age of consent.
Birth certificates.
So they're not doing anything wrong. So they're treating us as Guyam. You know, what do? They invite you to the polling station, which is, that's why I said it's not an election, it's a poll.
Yeah.
So they're inviting you to the polling station to choose your CEO. What do? The Guyam marks his name in a box with an X. The illiterate idiot signs with an X.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they're doing nothing wrong.
I agree with you there. I didn't know about the first point or the second point, but the second point was something that I've noticed myself. You know, not about any the Luciferian stuff, and which I do believe, where they feel that it's part of the ritual is that they have to tell you what they're going to do. Wars, famine, bird flu. You know, there will be another pandemic, etc., etc. You know, it's like they have to tell you what they're doing, and then they'll step back from that. They'll leave it for a couple of years, and then they'll come back.
That's so as you see, they don't want any karmic justice to come on them, because if they do all the rules and the people are consenting to be treated in this way, and that's why I have a problem with the people that are peddling legal, the people that are trying to convince the people into this fraudulent system, you know, and to remain in it. They're blocking truth. And I think that's what's stopping the flow of karmic justice. I think, you know, stopping the truth is what stops that flow. Yeah. So I'd like to just, It'd
be nice to see that. It'd be nice to see the public, Joe Public, come and Jane Public, to come, because there are only two genders, come to that realisation. You know, that we do seem to be governed by some kind of and it does. I'm not a holy man by any stretch of the imagination. You know, I live my life with Christian beliefs. You know, I don't. I suppose I'm a terrible Christian because I don't go to church.
Well, Christianity is not a religion.
I suppose that's an ideology as much as any other, really.
Christianity is just to be Christ-like.
Yeah.
It's nothing about religion as such.
Well, then I am a Christian.
Yeah, well, as far as I know, like, you can be a Christian Muslim.
Right. Okay.
Oh, no, yeah. That sounds...
Yeah. I read some of the Quran, actually, to try and educate myself on Muslims, and wow, you know, it's like in English for I can't remember the name of it, but I had got it, and it kind of bullet points all of the, you know, what it is that they want to achieve and all this kind of stuff, and it's pretty horrific. But then again, any Bible is, I suppose, any
they all would sound probably horrific if you're looking at it from opposing viewpoint.
Yeah. But so the Luciferian thing, I agree. I do think. I mean, you just have to look at society now. Like, we're coming into what's going to be a mass wave of celebrating somebody's sexual preferences month. You know, Pride. You know, Pride month. You know, why should we be celebrating anyone's sexual preference? No. And why is anybody basing their identity on a sexual preference?
Clown world is legal.
Yeah, that seems to be what it is, and we're coming into the month of clown. Now, I have gay friends. I have a gay brother. You know, so I don't have anything against anybody that's homosexual or lesbian or bisexual. I don't care what you do in the bedroom. You do you. I just don't think that it should be thrust onto the public. And we're just, again, I'm talking out the side of my mouth really with the whole satanic stuff. You know, because they or that whole system don't believe in like two different genders and all that jazz, and doing the things that they're talking about doing, and that's where I think the trans agenda and stuff kind of slots in, really, and it's just kind of in your face now, because you see these men, you know, walking down the street beside children, you know, with their junk hanging out, and you know, and it's all about sex, because that's really all it's about, and I don't think we should be celebrating that, but it's forced onto us an entire month whenever veterans who have been to war are out to try and save, well, they think they're out to save other people, and they're not really. And they've lost their lives, they've lost limbs, whatever, they get one day. Yeah. You know, it's all back to front. It's all back to front. And I think that trans agenda certainly it's not fair that it's that lesbians, gays, and bisexuals that don't want anything, and I know ones, they don't want anything to do with this Pride Month nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to be celebrating their sexual preferences in public with everybody. You know.
Well, then that's why you have to deregister, isn't it? Because you see, even while I hear you,
Yeah.
I believe you,
Yeah.
but as I said, if I want your opinion, I'll have to ask your attorney. And
Yeah.
he says
Yeah.
other.
He's not here.
Yeah, well,
I'll
I
ring
know,
him.
but that's why you really must do this. Like
Yeah.
people say to me as well, you know the way like people tap into telephone calls and listen in, and you have like what would you call plants and shills and people like going around. Like,
Yeah.
I want everyone to hear what I have to say.
Yeah.
Everyone. I want, if you
Even
view
those that
yourself
don't
as
agree.
my enemy, I want
Yeah.
you to hear what I have to say, because what I have to say is beneficial for mankind.
Yeah. Everybody, left, right, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. But that deregister you're talking about, so there's a process for that, I assume.
Yeah, you see, this is why we have to have a round table debate on the matter. No,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of, like, everybody's got, intelligence and opinions.
Yeah, of course.
And I myself, because it makes the most logical sense to me, I'm of the opinion that to create a private letter and to send it to the franchise department of your local county council to you,
Yeah.
and inform them, that you want to close down your.
So that would be the process.
That for me makes the most logical sense, but there are other groups of people who are, intelligent people and good people, and they say that no, we've got a pre-prepared template that you use, and other people will tell you that you can do it over the phone, and other people, because, oh, by the way, when you send a private letter, if you receive correspondence from the county council,
Yeah.
you don't want to even open that letter, just return it to sender.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to re-enter into a contract with these people.
I suppose even by opening it,
You are.
Okay,
So that to me makes most sense. But like I say, you need to sit around the table. Now, here's the lovely point as well, which I think needs to be got to the public as much as possible. And I think the so-called alternative media need to be called out.
Okay.
Because they're shamelessly ignoring this subject as well, and they have been for years, But first-hand experience, I telephoned the CEO of the de facto state, and I spoke with a man acting as agent there, and I asked him for the number of registered voters.
Okay.
And that man told me that they don't have that figure, and that man advised me to go to the county councils, county by county, ask them for the figure and to tally it up myself. Now, my point is this. Firstly, the county councils are legacy institutions, so our state has no jurisdiction over them in the first place. Secondly, and this is really important, it's probably the most important point, he who makes the claim has the burden of proof is upon him. So I'm saying this de facto state is laying the claim that it has the mandate to rule us by consent because the majority are registered to vote, but they don't have the proof to back their claim.
Yeah.
So for me, that's reason just to stop
Immediately. You don't have the proof.
If you don't have the proof, you're saying that you have a mandate to rule. I've asked you for the figure, and you don't have it. You've sent me to a legacy institution.
Okay, yes.
So for me, that's a problem immediately.
You've obviously put this to these people. What kind of response have you got to any of that stuff? If any? Have you had any response from any?
No. You know, the vagueness is their tool, But but as I say, if we had like the alternative media stations, and down in the south, I don't know who is your equivalent up here, but in the south, I would say, Well, I would say in the south, it's a company called Gript Media.
I've heard about them. Yeah, I've heard about Gript. Yeah.
They're the equivalent of RTE.
Right. Okay.
Supposedly on our side.
Right. Okay.
I say that
RTE.
I say that if they could hold this conversation, and you had a sizable enough platform, I think that you would
it would get out there.
I do think that you could.
Well, that's a message to Grip Media to get you on board.
But I've been in touch with Grip Media, and they've disappointed me a lot. They've wasted a lot of my time.
Okay.
They've come back to me with lame excuses that they couldn't see my messages, and they asked me to send them emails, and after maybe 2 weeks, a man that works there, his name is Gary.
Okay.
Gary has decided that he's looked at the information and he's decided that it would never work. So I asked Gary, I said, Gary, is that your opinion, or can you
Seems
be
like
specific and tell me how or why that wouldn't work? And he told me, no, that's his opinion. So Gary seems to think that his opinion is sufficient to block the truth from the people.
Yeah.
And
This is a lot of the problem that we have as well on these social media sites. You know, we have these fact checkers, and it's really it's an opinion-based reason that they have blocked and or stopped that information getting out. Pretty much like Gary at Crypt, whoever he may be, his opinion, he has decided that the public don't need to hear the information that you have to share, which is very important, to be fair.
if it's the truth, it belongs to the people.
Absolutely.
That's it. It's.
I think every bit of information,
simple.
truth or not, belongs to the people.
Yeah.
It's up to them to decide.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know, and as you say, it's up to you as the purveyor and or the person that's getting that out there to prove it as fact.
Yeah. It's just it's that simple. You know, if you're in the public and you're portraying yourself as a journalist, well, then you have to comprehend and accept there's two sides to every story.
Yeah.
Now they'll talk about bloody space aliens and submarines and all kinds of everything. You know, they'll talk about everything except this.
Yeah.
This seems to be the number one taboo subject.
Maybe this is the linchpin. Maybe this is the keystone that's holding the bridge together, and that's why they don't want to talk about it.
Well, I think it is.
Because if you take the keystone out, the bridge will collapse.
I think it is.
You know.
I really think it is, and I think it is simple.
Yeah.
You know, maybe some people prefer things to be more complicated, but
I like complicated things.
yeah.
There's something wrong with me, but I was dropping my head as a kid, I think. Twice.
Yeah, no, but it has to be simple.
Yeah.
You know, and I am very, very basic. You know, in my ways. You know, in my language. You know, I don't have a massive big vocabulary.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have.
Me either.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, it's like.
You see, you're battling with these. What I have found is, you're battling with these wordsmiths, these sleazy, and that's what they are, and that's where I see the legal system as such. It's whoever can use the largest array of word salads, you know, to explain, well, that's a wooden table. Well, actually, I think what you'll find is and they go into a whole...
Yeah.
You know, so because he's told you a story about it using a lot of big words, etc., you're like, oh, well, I believe him. That's not a table. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Well, it's clearly a table.
Yeah.
You know, but that's kind of the battle that we're in. But I think that I do have a good feeling. I do feel that the tide is turning.
Yeah.
I do feel that because they have, and I don't mean this to seem as a slur towards everybody, because they've dumbed everybody down with smartphones and everything else, where people aren't writing anymore or even really properly reading because everything's
been poisoned as well.
Yeah. You know, it's that kind of poison of the mind as such.
Yeah.
You know, what they've inadvertently kind of caused, you know, those word salad folk aren't maybe going to be listened to as much. You know, that's why memes are such a big thing now. And people are looking at memes and like, yeah, and it is like a meme where you see like a picture and then like an explanation, and it's quite funny.
Yeah.
But it's a war of memes really more than anything now, because people are, you know, going with that kind of stuff, that kind of information. So.
Well, I like to keep it simple. You know, the explanation as simple as possible, because I was like, if I was trying to explain this to you and you couldn't comprehend what I was saying, I wouldn't blame you. I'd blame me.
Yeah. Again,
my fault. If I cannot explain myself to my fellow man, that's my fault. I have to find another way to explain it, and I think I found my way, and I think it is basic and simple. And
well, I'll be honest, before coming down to have a chat with you today, I had no idea about any of the stuff that you're talking about, and now I would say I've got a grasp. I wouldn't be as switched on as you whenever it comes to it, but a grasp of what the legal system really represents now.
Yeah.
You know, before I would never really have thought about it the way that you've explained it. You know, and now I'll be leaving here today with that information, and
and by the way, my message to the people who intend to set up new parties, because
Yeah.
you have to set up a party, I suppose, you know, because the country will need governance.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
will need people in our offices to fulfil our fiduciary duties for us, to run our trusts in the correct direction for us. Yeah, but we will need these people.
Yeah.
So not to be defensive, to realise that, you know, we the men and women of now, we need a lawful system.
Yeah.
So you can still come to us with your mandate, you know, and yeah, we'll vote for you if we want, you know, but only in a lawful system. We can't continue with what we have.
No, I would agree with that, actually. I think that the whole I wonder how that would work here in the north, because obviously it's very complex, you know, given our past, our history, all that kind of stuff. But I think that a lot of people here in the north are waking up to the sham that is the legal system, and the education system, and the health system, and the political system. You know, I've never seen so much pushback in my life. And I say I'm 44 years of age, so you know, the amount of protests that are obviously hidden from everybody and whatever else. You know, people are waking up. So I wonder what would be involved, or what people would have to do in order to deregister, as you say, up here. I'm going to have to look into that, actually. In the south, it's a matter of composing a letter, getting a letter together, and getting it sent off. Again, they could say, "Oh, we never received that letter." So would you get it in a what do they call that?
Registered post.
Yeah, like a registered or recorded delivery type scenario.
Well, again, these are all the conversations that need to be had. But as I said to you, I don't even think that we have to do that. I think if the state don't have the information, if you don't have proof, I mean, that's it then, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, for me, that would be the most direct route. You know.
Would a system? I don't bear in mind that the system that they have in America at the minute is terrible. But would a republic type system be the right type of system? An old republic type system, I mean.
Yeah. People say that, you know, a republic is a legal system as well. So
okay.
You know, it's like democracy itself is mob rule as well, isn't it? You know.
So it is. That's why I laugh at this word democracy, but really it's mob rule.
But I don't really go into much. You know, I try and stay tight in this lane on the deregistration, on just shutting down the power to the legal system. You know,
for sure.
Because it's just the first step.
Yeah. It's
the first step, and it's the first step for mankind globally, I do believe. I'd love this land that we're standing on. I'd love to be the people that were the ones that created the ripple effect that would come from this, you know.
For Ireland to be the press was to be that.
Put us back on the map, you know.
Yeah. I think we have been kind of.
Hey, by the way, you were saying like we have an interesting past, you know, with Protestant and Catholic divide and all this, but look, we've all been used against each other.
Absolutely.
The Englishman has been bred to be cannon fodder.
For sure.
And now he's left in the lurch himself.
Absolutely.
And you know what? The mask has slipped on this so-called royal family, which are not really the royal family at all, are they? I mean, they've just infiltrated.
The royal family is something that it's an enigma to me.
They're a disgrace.
Without a shadow of a doubt. They're a tourist attraction.
Oh God, they're not even that anymore, are they?
Well,
I mean, they're a shame. Like, I mean,
yeah. Well, I suppose all the things that they've been implicated in and everything else. It's just
all the Jimmy Savile nonsense.
All
these perverts and
yeah. And you know the perversion in society that is currently happening with pedophilia, and you know where they're trying to legalise all that kind of stuff. You know, they call it
that's right.
People that are paedophiles a minor attracted person.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, any minor attracted person I ever see around my kids, you'll be a minor attracted disabled person whenever I'm finished with it. You know, but and the royal family certainly haven't really cast a good light on that.
No, they haven't dressed themselves in glory, have they?
Absolutely not.
No,
absolutely not. You know, because I used to look at the royal family, years old, and think, God, there's so much to be proud of.
Yeah, there you go.
But since 2016, I got this bag of stinking bitter pills that I've been eating every bloody day.
Yeah.
And I look at them as a complete sham.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a shame because I used to look and think, oh, that's great. There's great majesty there.
I know.
But there's not.
Well, look,
There really isn't.
No.
There really isn't.
No.
And in the South, you don't have that. You have just a kind of an elected kind of system as such. I mean, who's
selected, really?
Selected.
Yeah.
And then that's obviously run by. It has to be the globalists.
Well, you see, our system, like, we don't have a republic. It's a fake republic. It's a fake state. It's a suzerainty of England. In actual fact, they had to suzerainty of England. It's just like it's a little. It's a. It still belonged to England, but it's like you have your own autonomy, but you're still operating under English law, the British registered and accredited system.
Yeah.
The contract itself had to have the approval of King George.
Like Gibraltar, like the Rock of Gibraltar kind of a thing.
Well, I don't know much about that now, but yeah. No, the contract itself, the 1937 contract, they had to seek the approval of King George to enact it.
What?
Yeah, and also there's other problems with it, you know. It was constructed by the church, the senior civil servant, which would have been Eamon de Valera, and some sort of a solicitor, Hearn was his name. But the point is that de Valera was a civil servant.
Yeah.
And as a civil servant, he should have had no hand act or part in the creation of a contract to be used for the people. A constitution is supposed to be created by the people.
For the people, yeah.
Yeah. So the whole thing is just a scam. It's a fraud built on top of a fraud, because it's going back in history again, but you know that after the Rising, I don't know if you know much about the history, but after the 1916 to 1919 Rising, we had an all-era de jure constitution here, and it ran from 1919 to 1922. And the reason that we managed to have that for those small few years was because, well, England was having trouble in India, and at the time it was having its own trouble, so it was very busy over here. So we had an opportunity to have our own de jure contract, constitution, to run backed by the proclamation from 1919 to 22. But what happened in 1922 was King George came back, and basically he just said, no lads, you can't be having that. So what he did was he created a bastardized version of that contract, you know, that recognised him as being the sovereign of the land, whereas the 1919 recognised that the people were the sovereign. The sovereignty comes from the people, you see. So he said, you can't be having this, you can't be having this. So what he did was he bastardized that constitution, and he offered it to the people under the threat of genocide.
Again, they offered.
So yeah, but thankfully, you know, our forefathers accepted the offer that couldn't be refused, because if they didn't, like myself and yourself wouldn't be having this conversation here now.
Yeah.
So it is what it is, you know.
That's the same as. Again, that's something that I've learned about. You're talking about these offers and contributions and all these these words that are used, you know, to make it seem like it's fluffier. But you know, the whole kind of tax here in the north and in the UK, and I'm sure probably the same in the south, is classed as contributions, and really, although it's classed as a contribution, if I refuse to pay that. Allegedly, tax, it's up to you if you want to pay tax.
That's right,
you have to pay tax if you don't want to.
That's right, yeah.
But if you don't want to, you'll go to jail.
Yeah.
You know, so you're doing it under the threat of, if you don't pay tax, you'll go to jail.
Yes.
So it's not, in that respect, it's clearly not a contribution. Really. And
it's an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah, it really is an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then the mad thing is, like, they're using fake money as well, you know. We're not really, I shouldn't call it money, it's fiat currency. So, like I'm saying, you know, when you return to law, you can go back to subject matter based money, you know.
I would like to see, personally, I would like to see us back in the gold standard. I don't think we ever should have been away from the gold standard. It used to be that, I mean, it references that on some of the notes, you know, sterling's £20 sterling, or, you know, and that would be referenced 20 pieces of sterling silver or whatever.
Yeah, and the dollar was gold backed as well, but Nixon temporarily suspended the gold backed dollar 50 years ago.
Yeah, temporarily, yeah.
So look, as I say, mankind has gone the wrong way.
Absolutely.
So we've seen that now. Okay, so we have to stop.
Yeah.
And go back, and you know, I'm really, really hopeful. I'm really, really hopeful, and I just see potential all around me. You know, I see potential in you. I see potential in the ground I stand on. I see it, you know, and I see the solution. It's clear.
Do you think that we are, in your view, do you think that this will culminate in a revolution of sorts.
No. Mankind's always been having revolutions,
Yeah.
and we're dizzy now.
Yeah,
We're going to have an evolution now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're to evolve into...
We're going to really start realising our potential now.
I would prefer that. You've got two different kind of feedbacks that I'm detecting anyway. I'm detecting it kind of on the ground with different people I talk to. I mean, I could be talking to a chief executive officer of a multi-million-pound company. I could be talking to Dave the janitor, the following day.
Yeah.
And the feedback's the same.
Yeah.
The feedback's the same. It's anger.
Yeah.
It's anger, and God only knows what's going on in the background. Where people are maybe putting together caches of whatever in order to revolt. It seems you've got that side where people are preparing for a not so pleasant revolt.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other side where people are talking about evolving, but through peaceful means. That's the preference, and I hope that is the one. The latter is the one.
Well, it's the first step. Okay, we've all, as you said, we've been rudely awakened to the realities.
Yeah.
And basically, we're all been raped.
For sure, yeah.
So what's the first thing you do in that situation? You have to shout no, because if you don't shout no, you're consenting to it. Yeah. So this is just the first step. Let's see what happens. I'm going to be hopeful that it can be peaceful and lawful.
Fingers crossed.
So the first thing to do is to say no.
Yep.
And see what happens.
And we do that through deregistration.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I'll definitely look at. And you can be sure that once you would do it, you would be penalised for it. You'll be penalised through some kind of fines or some kind of...
No, not at all. I mean, no, you're talking fines like the fake state. You see, the sovereignty of the people was exchanged for this welfare state of privileges and benefits, and to cover that fraud, it is a fact that all your debts are already paid. And I can prove that myself. I don't have the paper with me here today, but I have the paperwork to prove that you pay your fines with your signature.
Right,
you don't give them money.
We see that, that's a thing, but I suppose that's real.
This is
sure.
real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real. You operate as the executive of your own estate.
But physically, what they would do if you didn't pay fines, I mean, people have been arrested and been to jail for not paying fines.
But I don't pay fines.
Yeah, well, I did the same.
There's other ways to do it too. I mean, you can go into their commercial court and you can appoint a fiduciary to set off and discharge whatever that fine is. There's different ways to do it, but you don't have to pay.
Is that just in the legal system in the south? Because obviously it's going to be different to up here, I would imagine.
I wouldn't say it is different, but I don't know. I have to say I don't know anything about it.
I must look into that. Yeah, you've kind of spiked my taste buds with this.
Yeah, well, I'm going to have to show you my proof then, won't I?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you will. You have to prove to me. Yeah,
I will, of course. Sure, I'll do that. Yeah,
you have to show me that stuff.
Yeah,
so that I can then share to everybody else. Actually, look at this.
That's no problem. That's no problem. Yeah.
Let's nobody pay any of those false fines that we've all been getting, which a lot of them are.
It's an offer. The fine is an offer. Everything is an offer in legal.
Yeah,
you know?
The problem is that they follow it up, with custodial sentences.
No.
And that's where a lot of people get worried, I think.
Well, they don't with me.
Yeah.
They don't with me. You get my signature. Here you go.
The signature to say you're not paying the fine.
No, it's like you're offering me some sort of a well, what's the offer? It's like you say, it's one of these pay this much fiat currency by this amount of time, or we lock you up for this much time. So that's their offer that they're giving you. So I say, okay, well, I'll operate as the executive of my estate to allow you into my trust to get that paltry sum. I'm not going to allow you into my trust to take whatever you want from it.
Does that mean in real terms, not in real terms, but in physical terms, your money in your bank account where they could legally go into your bank account and take it out, or does that mean that they can create that money based on your being effectively? Or take out the value of your being?
They take out. You're giving them the keys to your estate. Like you're allowing them. I'm not allowing them into my trust. I'm going to do it myself. Like that's all. So
and that's what the signature is.
Yeah, you're accepting the offer for value and you're returning it to them for the same value. You're just endorsing it, and here you go.
Yes.
Send it in there.
Okay.
And,
okay.
Yeah, it works. It works fine.
So legally, they can't, in legal terms, by their own definition, put you in jail.
No.
The problem is not a lot of people know this.
More and more do.
Yeah.
More and more do.
Yeah.
But, you have to have the proof, and that's why, I only speak of first-hand experiences. That's what I said, So...
Yeah,
because there are a lot of people on the internet that say the same things but haven't done it, So you want to be
the internet can be the internet of things can be a real gold mine.
yeah.
It can also be a real treasure trove of shite.
Mm.
People just voice.
I never finished the story there actually.
Yeah.
About how I ended up to be here.
Yes, please.
Because it was to do with the motor tax issue on the car, and I said that they'll do this and they'll do that. So I realised very quickly how they operate, and they broke my bones and robbed my car and pepper sprayed me and locked me up, and they did all that stuff.
Actually?
Right? Oh yeah.
Over motor tax?
Yeah, because I told them that I wasn't taxing my car because the levy was put on it going to Irish water.
Irish water, yeah.
But that's when I realised, that you're in a fascist state, because they're nice until you say no. But anyway, so I ended up in that situation. But what happened was, my car was as black as the ace of spades.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and bog myself down here. So anyway, the two guards wrote two collaborating statements saying that they did this and they did this and this, but the two of them had that my car was blue on their statement.
Right, okay.
So I said nothing about that, and I went to court, and I had my evidence to this and this.
Never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake.
Yeah, so I had evidence that this was wrong and this was wrong and that was wrong, and they were telling lies about this and this, and the man acting as the judge was just ignoring all my evidence, okay, everything. And I had family in the courtroom with me and friends in the courtroom, and then at the very end of the case, where he was just after ignoring all my evidence, and I slid across the tax book, which is state documentation. I slid it across the desk to the man acting as the judge, and I said, my car is black. And that's when I noticed that man, he opened up the tax book, and I could see the colour leave his face, and his mouth fell open, because they've already decided how they're going to act out the case in the back room there before they came out here. So he's there, and he looked up at the rookie cop in the box, and he says, the car is black. And she said, now she's in the box, so she's sworn now to tell the truth.
Yeah.
But she said, no, it's blue. And that's when he just slammed all my paperwork closed, and he said, I'm guilty. And that's it, and I lost. And that's when
the judge said this?
Yeah, and that's when I realised, I don't want to be a citizen of this state anymore, because I can't even rely upon state documentation to defend myself, to vindicate my good name. I can't even rely upon state documentation. So
that makes sense.
So you can't win here with these people.
Yeah, well, it's a system that's created so that you don't, or you can't win.
You can't. Sure,
you'll get little wins to make it seem like you can.
Yeah.
But you'll never get a win where it matters.
Not ones. No.
You'll never get one that matters.
So that's it. I said, look at the laws, black and white. There's state documentation. And I have witnesses here. Yeah. Even they could have testified. I can have photographs or anything you want, That's it. No, you're guilty. So that's when I started going down this journey. And that's
so corrupt.
Yeah, it's rotten to the core.
Yeah.
It really is. And in fact, the corruption is promoted. You'll do well, the more corrupt you are in this.
It seems to be the case. It really does. And it's really disheartening.
The more that you can piss the people off and anger and annoy them, the more that you'll be promoted as well.
Yeah.
Because that's what the politicians are contracted for. It is to distract and anger the people.
Yeah.
Because when the people are all pointing their finger at this guy that is a nobody really in the grander scheme of things, and then they're carrying on with their agenda in the back room.
We've had our fair share of that here in the north. We had a health minister, Robin Swan, and he was a real, in my opinion, he was just a tyrannical lunatic.
Mm-hmm.
He just and given his actions and how he behaved under the guise of information that turned out to be wrong. Mm-hmm. But when it came to the vaccines and things, alleged vaccines, therapeutics, he somewhat got promoted, rather than getting sacked, really, from public office. And really, that's where I things like that make me kind of sit back and go, hold on a second. So if I went into a company, say I went over to a company and I set up a control system for them, and it caused untold damage because it wasn't done properly. Mm-hmm. Who's at fault? Mm-hmm. Me. Mm-hmm. What would happen to me? I'd be sacked.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and these people are, as you rightfully say, they're not held to account. You know, they're just not.
And then they're forgotten.
No, they're promoted.
I know, but then they're forgotten. What they do is
Yeah.
then he
They
disappears, and
they go out the
and they got
headlines.
a new guy to put in and
Yeah.
direct your energy at this guy now.
They go out the headlines, and that seems to be one of the tactics. It's like it's like a Punch and Judy show.
It is a
you know,
Punch
the
and Judy
puppets,
show.
and then whoop,
Yeah.
and then another puppet.
Yeah,
It's the same
yeah.
hand.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It's
And they just keep the people, like, you know, Monday comes around and you get all these guys. And again, it's on both sides of the fence. That's what
Yeah,
I'm
for
saying.
sure.
It's on
Yeah,
the
left,
alternative
right,
media
yeah.
side as well. They're
Yeah.
just going to be standing outside the migrant centres now, and they're going to be jumping up and down and saying, giving out, just keeping the people in this state, you know, all the time of
Yeah.
anger, and just keeping them.
yeah.
And yeah,
That's
there's no
something.
solution. Like, let's talk about the solution.
Nobody really talks
ignoring
about
the
a solution.
No,
They always talk
this-
about the problem.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
So we know the bloody thing is rotten. Like, you don't need to
Yeah.
keep giving me more examples of rot.
Totally agree with you. Totally
Can
agree
we
with you
just
there.
please talk about the solution for a change?
You know, I always thought that, but it's never really. It has always been in my mind. But you're right. No one ever talks about, you know, well, what is the solution for all these problems that we're all shouting and screaming from the rooftops about? That's so true. I think if we were to talk more about solutions,
And definitely, I don't think anybody should consider voting for anybody who's
Yeah.
afraid to enter into debate with somebody that has a different opinion or viewpoint.
absolutely, absolutely. One of the things that really annoys me about these cowardly politicians is that they're happy to go and wet their beak at the trough, but they won't answer questions.
Mm.
You know, and any politician that doesn't give a direct answer, are you going to, let's say for instance, will you stop the boats, you know, for illegal immigration? You know, this is something I don't understand with Rishi Sunak, who's the Prime Minister of one of the most powerful countries in the world, right? Unelected Prime Minister. Will you stop the boats? Yes, we'll get a thing together and we'll stop the boats. And it gives this big, long-winded answer on Rwanda policy, which is another attack on the taxpayers of Britain and the UK at whole. Just stop the boats. Just get a team of gunboats out there and turn the fucking things around. You know, that's the way I look at it, because these people are not refugees from war zones, because they've passed through multiple safe countries to get here.
Yeah.
So they've come here for that purpose.
Yeah, but when they're in a dinghy in the sea,
Yeah.
an overloaded dinghy,
Yeah.
lawfully you have to take them onto land.
I would turn them around because they came from land.
No, but you have
get here.
you have to take them onto land. I mean, lawfully,
Yeah,
like they're lost at sea.
Back to the land they came from.
Yeah.
That's where I would take them. That's
Yeah.
in my opinion. That's where they would be going, because they left safe shore to come across and make the perilous journey in order to get to our shores. You know, and they were already.
They're
in
being
safe
used
country.
as well. It's the
Oh,
same as the
I know they are.
Englishman was
I don't
used
blame them.
against the Irishman.
Yeah.
And they're being used now. Like, I mean,
That's one
it's
thing
just-
that I get into debates with folk about this. I say, look, I don't blame the people coming here.
Yeah.
It's not them that I blame. It's the politicians that are welcoming them with open arms and not doing something about it. It's not those people that are coming here that I blame. Absolutely not. They're coming here to take advantage of a system that the politicians have basically laid out on a silver platter for. You know, so yeah, I certainly don't blame them.
But they're only one problem. The open borders is one problem.
Yeah.
As we said, there's spraying the crap in the sky like is a massive problem.
Again,
you know.
that's
but
another
they're
thing.
all legal problems is the point. Every single problem, unless it's a matter of the heart, is a legal problem.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
yeah.
saying. So legal is the problem.
But again,
There
it's the
you go.
keystone.
Yeah,
it's the keystone.
It really is.
That's holding all of their nefarious activities together.
Yep.
You know, so all of their nefarious activities are dependent upon this one keystone, and that keystone is, as you say, is the legal system, is the legal.
It's legal, full
Yeah.
stop, end of story, yeah. Because, sure, it's not for man or woman. It's written, that's why I say if you read read your constitutions, like every article, it doesn't mention a man or a woman.
I
It's
don't
all
think-
for the person.
I'm not too sure if we have anything like that. Do we have like a constitution in Northern Ireland? Do we?
You would have a Commonwealth constitution, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I must look into that actually.
Yeah, sure, why
I
not?
must look into that because it's not something until we sat down and talked today.
Yeah.
It's not something I ever really engaged in.
But you see, these are all the conversations to have, I think, after we do the first step, because, you know, I've met people, I've travelled around, like meeting you from, you know, a different dimension than I'm from, and I've met, you know, the staunchly Republican people, I've met the people who are adamant that the Magna Carta is the correct
I've heard about
document.
this Magna Carta.
Yeah, but you see, for me, all I want to know from when I'm speaking with the different people and the different groups, okay, you think that this is the correct one, and you think this is, but can we all agree that we have to collapse the legal system? That's all. Can we all agree on that, and we can all talk about everything afterwards?
I definitely agree now, where I wouldn't have before.
That's great.
But I definitely agree now, for sure, that the legal system, initially, I suppose, whenever it was set out, was a good system for the people, maybe, way back when.
Have you ever heard of the race on the chessboard challenge?
Never.
Maybe you did when I started explaining the story. It's some sort of a fable about a guy comes onto a farm and he says to the guy that he'll work all day for 1 grain of rice, on condition that on the second day he gets 2 grains of rice, but on the third day he wants 4 grains, and the next day he wants 8 grains, and so on and so forth. And he wanted to do it on a chessboard. So the point is that by the time that you get to the halfway stage of that challenge, it's like you need 7 tons of rice or something for his day's work, okay? To finish the impossible challenge would require you to put all the arable land on the face of the earth into rice production 24/7, 365 for 7 years.
Just to give him his rice.
To give him his day's pay for his rice. But people waking is the same.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. 1 wakes 2, 2 wake 4, 4 wake 8. And it will, like, it's like when change happens, it always happens slowly, then suddenly. It's going to be like a dam bursting, and it is ready to burst. I feel it is.
I think that the politicians have all of their thumbs in the dam at the minute.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing their best. They plug the holes, and there's nothing can stop what is eventually coming unless they throw us into a state of war.
They say the truth will out. And now's the time, you know, it's the age of information. That's what I've asked the question, you know, in the age of information, for how long should you excuse a man's ignorance?
Yeah, because it is ignorance.
Ignorance is criminal in the age of information.
Yeah,
I think so.
I would agree with you, actually, especially again since 2016, and especially over the period of the scamdemic. You know, the information was there, but people just didn't want to see it. It was a hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil kind of thing. And just follow what the TV tells us to do.
That's right.
So,
yeah.
And that I think what annoyed me during that period of time, and certainly even now today, is the fact that all of this information is available, but nobody is actually digesting it correctly and or acting on it. Mm-hmm. You know, they're happy to take just whatever, you know.
Alternative media have to just step up.
For sure.
And discuss the subject.
For sure.
And how do we do it, right? I'm the weakest link in the chain when it comes to the technical side of things. You know, I told you that. I'm the quintessential.
Yeah. Well, I've got.
I showed you my phone, didn't I? So, no, I think it has to be possible for us to get as little as 1,000 people to go to Gript Media, and not to ask them, but to demand them to investigate this matter forensically now, immediately.
Maybe we should get like a signatory thing put together. You know,
you mean like a petition?
Like a petition, yeah.
Well,
maybe we should do something like that. We'll get a petition sorted.
Something like that. But they have to do the job that they say they're there to do, because there are 2 sides to every story.
Yeah.
This is the other side of the story, and we have to deliver it to the people.
Yeah, but you see that's the thing. I think that the 2 sides of the story aren't what's put out in mainstream media. It's made to look as if it's the 2 sides of the story, when really it's their own kind of constructed 2 sides which lead to exactly the same result. You know, in the mainstream media, that is, you know, likes of RTE, BBC, CNN, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. See, a lot of people that are looking for votes, like, they kind of have, as I say, they have opinions, and their opinions are stopping me from having any interaction with them and whatever. But it's a bumper sticker question. I asked them, what have I said that's not true?
They'll not answer that, really.
That's what I want to know.
They'll skirt around that, and that's one of the things that I was saying earlier that I hate about these politicians. Yeah. And I think they should be held to account for not answering questions directly and straight. And I'm not just talking.
They're not qualified to have an organic conversation with a man, is my finding.
Yeah.
They certainly don't have the confidence. It's just, I suppose, it's like I said to you, I'm in a glorious position. I'm not trying to be everyone's friend.
Yeah.
I can open my mouth and the truth will come out every time.
Yeah. Whether that offends
And because
them or
it's the
not.
truth. Yeah, and it's the truth. So it doesn't matter if I say it backwards or forwards. It's the truth.
Yeah. I'm totally with you there, and it's one of the most offensive things that you could ever share with somebody is the truth a lot of the time. You ever hear that saying? Is it a few good men? I know you can't handle the truth. What was that film? There was a film with Jack Nicholson. He was like, "You can't handle the truth." Isn't that right?
That's right.
Yeah, and that's because people don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear their opinion coming from your mouth. You know, they want to hear what they've said coming from your mouth, maybe slightly differently.
And by the way, men and women they're very, very different as well, in that I find the women to be far more receptive to men, to accepting and receiving any new information.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do, and I use the analogy of, it's like when the man and the woman are lost in the car, like, just ask him, dear. I won't, I'll find my own way. That's the man, it's just the nature of man.
Right.
Like, they just,
She doesn't know the way, I know the way.
I'll find my own way.
Instructions.
Yeah. Well, I find women are much more receptive, to new information than men.
So we maybe need to speak to the female audience a bit more then.
Yeah.
Well, get as much. I'm going to have to start hitting the sunbeds or something, get lip fillers and things. Just engage a bit better. Is that not what they all do now?
The beard will have to go.
No way! That's all I've got! There's so much to unpack. There is so much to unpack, but you've explained it very, very clearly for me today. Where I would never really have understood any of that stuff.
Yeah,
but
it is simple, isn't it?
It is simple when it is, as you say. Really, it's the keystone, of the bridge, and all of the nefarious activity that's happening on the bridge or within the bridge is held together with the keystone, which is the legal system.
The consent.
Yeah.
Just consent. That's our problem.
Everybody needs to deregister.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to communicate. Communication's key as well. I think a lot of people aren't communicating.
A national debate would fell the state immediately. I'm sure of it. I don't think it could survive a national debate on this matter. Especially
now, given what the politicians in the South have done to Ireland and the state that they've left it in. Who's the guy in Sligo? There's a guy, James. Is it James?
Conway.
He's a farmer. Not right. But is he a politician?
Yeah, I met the man actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've spoken to him, and he actually
He's a lot of common sense.
No, he agreed with everything I said when I met him face to face. I asked him for a telephone number. He said that I should ring the shop, his local shop, and leave a message there. I thought that was a bit bizarre.
What is this?
No, he's running for a seat now as well. He's
in politics.
Yeah, this is the problem. This is the problem. And there was no interaction. They don't engage.
You're joking me.
No, I'm not.
Oh, I liked some of his videos, and I agreed with some of the things that he was saying, and it's.
No, he's hanging around with Herman Kelly and those people, and I've done all I can to call these people out. Yeah. I don't mince my words. I don't beat around the bush on the keyboard. I have no typing ability, so I'm very direct. In what I say.
How it should be.
Well, this is me public daily statement. That anyone who is promoting the current system is guilty of the perpetration of a legalised genocide on mankind. I mean, you couldn't make a more serious statement. I couldn't be more clear.
It's quite a charge, but it's true.
Yeah, well, wouldn't you defend yourself if you didn't think that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
So that's my point. Why can't they defend themselves? Why won't they defend themselves? You can't just ignore it. In fact, my public statement left unrebutted is fact in law. The only people that attempt to defend it are there's little keepers that they have to come out, and they just, as the man says, they just tend to throw insults at me, and
that seems to be a common thing, that whenever you catch them on the back foot, then the insults begin. There's no dialogue anymore. It's just insults.
Now, there have been a handful of people that have spoken with me. I will say, when I say a handful, it's 2-3 people, and the message doesn't get very much amplified after that. Really, they don't. There's not much sharing of the message after, so
it's likely suppressed quite a bit, I would have thought. And even those people that you speak to, there's a good chance that they go back and say, "Well, actually, I was talking to Murlock there, and he was telling me this, and this," and they'll be like, "Shh, don't talk about that anymore. Just forget that.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Otherwise you'll lose your pay, or you'll lose bonuses, or it's always everything's under threat.
Mm-hmm.
It's up here. It's like, everyone's all good, but there's a gun under the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
I've had a lot of the well-known public faces. I've spoken with them, and I've had them in my home and everything, and they agree with me when they're speaking with me face to face, and they promise me that they'll invite me onto their platforms to discuss the matter.
Yeah.
And they just always renege.
And it's sad that, especially whenever you feel like you've kind of built that bit of a connection, you feel that person has understood what you said, and then it feels like they're going to get that message, share that message. But
you see, unfortunately for me now, after all these years, is I do have to say I have anger. Is be putting it lightly. I'm livid with these people.
Visceral.
Yeah, I'm livid with them because. I thought initially, you've got a bit of egg on your face here, but now you've got blood on your hands.
Which they have for a long time.
Yeah, by blocking the truth, you actually do. And unfortunately, then because I'm in that sort of a state now, I'm not the man to discuss the subject now. I'm the man to bring the subject to the fore, and then somebody else is going to have to discuss it because I'm angry. And if you're angry,
so you're doing it through passion. Yeah.
If you're angry, you're not going to convey the message maybe as well as you could or should.
Yeah, I never get angry. I never get really angry to the point that I can't. It'll. Now this is me. That's just me. I never really get angry to the point where I can't. I allow it to overtake.
I would love to name out a whole bunch of names right here.
Do it.
No, I won't because that's what I don't know if it would help the message or not, but
you'll not know unless you do it.
Mm-hmm. But it's just I can just tell you without mentioning names that back in 2020, March 2020, the beginning of the lockdown, in fact,
that I ignored.
There was a meeting of the self-professed brave patriot warriors. It was a super secret meeting now because the COVID lockdown thing, right?
Right. Okay.
But it was being held in one of the more prominent members' houses, and new to the scene. She was new on the scene actually. There's one clue.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I telephoned the lady and I asked her would I be able to attend that meeting, and she said I would.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on my way to the meeting that night, and I got a telephone call from another well-known household name to ask was I going to the meeting, and I said I am. I said I'm about halfway there now. When I arrived at the house, there was a van parked outside with 2 security in it to stop me from coming in.
Huh?
Yeah. So I said no. I said you can't stop me. I said I've already made arrangements with the proprietor to be here. And so they said right. So they went into the house, and then another well-known household name came out and said to me that I was allowed to come in as long as I didn't talk about deregistration.
The thing that the most important subject.
my subject, why I'm here. So I just laughed in his face, because I found it quite amusing, to be honest with you. But I went in anyway, and in the house, right. So it was an open plan ground floor house, where the kitchen is over here on my right hand side, the dining room is on the left, and we are all in the centre. When I say we, I'm talking about us, the minnows, us, okay. the smaller people, right. In the dining room were sitting the barristers and the leaders of the parties and the groups and all these, the bigger fish, yeah. And I was sitting down, and I have one household name this side, and I was sitting down, being polite on the couch, being quiet. And the barrister in the dining room started going on about how wonderful the 1937 Constitution is and how amazing and what rights you have with it. Now, I'm on their turf. I'm surrounded by all of them, but I can't listen to nonsense. So I had to stand up and I had to tell that barrister to stop. I said, you're talking nonsense. Yeah. I said, your rights under the terms and conditions of that book are legal rights, ipso facto, revocable if deemed to be in the interest of the preservation of the state. Now, the silence that ensued was very long and was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And there was nobody more surprised in that room than me, because I'm speaking to a barrister here, and this barrister has no rebuttal to make to my statement.
Yeah.
So the silence was broken then by the proprietor of the establishment to come in and say, no, we're talking about the protest and what we're going to do now at the weekend. But I promise, she said, we will discuss mass deregistration versus voting
Which they haven't.
after. Every single one of those people there that night reneged. Now, I was really angry for a while after that. You know, I thought, you know, that's terrible. What a waste of my time. But then I realised that wasn't a waste of my time.
Planted the seed.
It wasn't a waste of my time. I answered my questions there in one go as to who they are and what they're about.
Okay.
And that's it.
Was there any of them that maybe surprised you in a good way?
No.
None.
No.
That's unfortunate.
No, they're all part of a clique. They're all going around patting each other on the back, telling them how brave and wonderful they are, and they're all speaking. It's like we have to find a solution. Anything except deregistration. Can anybody make a suggestion? What can we do? Anything except deregistration. But that's where they are. That's
but deregistration is the ultimate solution. Really.
Well, for me,
judging by what
well,
you're
like,
talking about.
it has to be discussed.
Yeah.
It has to be offered to the people as a potential solution to the problem. But it's like that they're... And now they've made up their mind that they definitely don't want to talk about that because, I don't know, they don't like me, whatever it is, I don't know.
Maybe they're just scared of the whole deregistration, because the deregistration makes so much sense and people will kind of cotton on to that.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
Whereas these people like to bamboozle people with this, like
Yeah.
you said about the table. They want to have the big
yeah.
convoluted explanation for what the bloody table is, like, rather than just
Yeah.
explaining it simply.
That's it. That this is the thing, and that's kind of what, that's very much part of the war that the likes of you and I are engaged in with these characters.
I always thought, they're well-intentioned idiots. They mean well. That's what I always thought,
I would think, I still think
But it's
similarly.
not. No, I don't think that anymore.
Yeah.
It dawned on me that no, they're not, because if they were, and if I made such a statement like that, you are perpetrating genocide. And if you were a well-intentioned idiot, you would defend yourself. And they don't. So I said, you're not a well-intentioned idiot, you're sly and you're devious.
And you know exactly what you're doing.
You know exactly what I'm saying, and you know exactly. And that's a terrible situation.
They don't like to be made to feel uncomfortable, with the truth.
Well, they can't come along now after all these years and pretend you never heard about this before.
Yeah.
You've
Well, I
left
hadn't
it too
obviously
long,
until
you've
you,
dug
yeah.
yourself into a hole now,
Yeah.
and you just can't get back out again.
Surely some of them, they could redeem themselves, by, I imagine. To me, I'm very much about getting everybody together, even the people that were effectively our enemies during lockdown and things. Even them, welcoming them in, obviously, just in order to gain the numbers, in order to turn everything around, if you know what I mean. But at the same time, not inviting an enemy into and past the castle gates as such.
Yeah, I don't know, you see. I suppose it's not going to matter to me, really, if the truth can be, freed. Because I think that legal attracts this type of people. It attracts the people that want, the people with the ego, the people that want the medals.
Manipulate it.
Yeah, so legal is attracting a particular type of people. So I think, that it's not really going to matter. I think if you can return it to a system of law, I think that any scum will just disperse naturally, because there's going to be accountability here now. There's not going to be any more, as I say, money for jam. There's only going to be, it's going to attract a different type of people. So
accountability is definitely the main thing that's missing in the entire in the system, in my opinion. Because I think that if a lot of these politicians were held to account properly,
they wouldn't be there in the first place.
Yeah, and we would have the right people in place.
You would have.
They would be there for the people and by the people.
Yeah, because it was one of the notions I had years ago. I said, I can't get the message out. I said, what am I going to have to do here? I said, I'm going to have to actually. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll run myself.
Yeah.
Now, I was only thinking jokingly, just kind of, what'll I do? I'll run myself. And I said, right, okay. So I'll come up to your house and I'll knock on your door. And first of all, right, I'm going to want you to believe me, okay? Because I'm looking for your vote here, right?
Yeah, of course.
Now, I've been told it was actually Pat Rabbit. He's a TD of old, and he said it in public like this. You actually have to lie to get elected. That's what they do. You know, he admitted it in public that that's what they do.
It's clear that they do that.
They do, yeah, it's obvious. But I was saying, right, well, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to knock on your door, and I'm going to want you to believe me first, and I'm going to, because I want your number one vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, for you to believe me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to swear upon my children's lives, right? And I'm going to swear upon my mother's grave
Mm-hmm.
that I'm going to tell you the truth, okay? Because I want your number one vote. And I'm going to guarantee you, right, that if you vote for me, I will do for you absolutely nothing.
But you're telling the truth.
I know, will you vote for me though?
No. Because you're telling the truth.
I know, but that's
Yeah.
that's it in a nutshell.
But that is, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
But even like, just to be clear, right? Because you seem like a nice guy. Like, I really, honestly, like, with my hand on my heart again, and it's on my mother's grave, I would like to be able to help you. It's just that I can't, because you see, once I do get selected, I have to sign a contract that I'll be stating that I will fulfil and uphold my fiduciary duty to the state, which is a position of trustee to the state. And I will have 10 legal advisors that will be handing me my script that I have to deliver every day as an acting politician. I'm acting here.
Yeah.
So I'd like to help you, but I can't, because I have to do this.
And going into that job, knowing that you're going to do that, you are lying to the people that you're trying to canvass votes from.
Yeah, but I always thought that they didn't know that, but now I'm kind of thinking they do know that. They have to know that now, because if they didn't know that, they would come and defend themselves against what I'm saying.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So that's not a very
glorious
or glamorous position to be in right now.
And that's going back on what we were saying, that none of them really tell the truth. Because
and I think the system is attracting that caliber. That's what I think.
It's been like that for a long time, really. I suppose even back to Blair, and this is UK politics, like I said, Tony Blair, and even here in Northern Ireland. I think the last, and as much as it pains me to say it, I think Ian Paisley was probably one of the only other politicians, reverends, whatever, here that spoke, some semblance of truth compared to the other kind of politicians that were there. They just kind of the wordsmiths, really.
Right.
And I don't support either of the, because we have nothing but rotten characters here in Northern Ireland. You look at Sinn Féin, they've sold us out and the South to the globalists. They don't care about the Irish people, don't care about the Northern Irish people. SDLP, pretty much the same. Alliance Party, who are meant to be, I think the Alliance Party are meant to be a neutral party. They're not really. They're look at recently that they voted something that the Irish people would never have accepted, was this RSE, this kind of sexual education at school, where they're teaching. It's horrific, and they're teaching kids, young kids under the age of 10, about things that they have no need to be listening to or talking about or anything, like sexual things in the bedroom, sexual adventures and stuff. Maybe the birds and the bees, yes, but not what they've.
That's perverted stuff.
It's perversion,
unnatural,
without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
But all of these parties, specifically Sinn Féin, Alliance Party, SDLP, DUP, TUV, any of the rest of them, they're all on board with the globalist agenda. So really, they're all the two wings of the one bird, or the two cheeks of the same arse. Really, just a different accent or a different tribal region.
100%.
So that's where I agree. I effectively agree with everything that you say. We do need to be decoupled from these nefarious characters, because they're the ones that are the Pied Pipers, and they're leading us to the cliff edge.
You need to realise that when you're registered, you're fueling the system, because all the power comes from the people, and because you're fueling the system, you're deemed to consent.
Yeah.
That is not a good position for you to be in. So you do your bit, you take out your power, and wake another. If you can wake two.
Well, I'll certainly as a subject matter, as a project, I'll do it and see how that affects me in just everyday life. If it affects me negatively or whatever.
Absolutely.
It affects your credit rating, or like credit ratings and things as well.
Yeah, you see, people think that I've got my benefits or whatever. Your entitlements and your benefits are nothing to do. Like there's two registers. There's the live birth register, and then there's the voting register, and it's the voting register that fuels the legal state.
Yes.
And as I said, just say you had left the state programming regime, and let's just say that you were just too lazy to register yourself to vote, or you couldn't be bothered, or you forgot, or whatever. It wouldn't have affected you in any way. You would have still gone out and you would have still got your job and got your car, and you would have done everything that you wanted to do in your life, even though you never registered yourself to vote.
Yeah. So deregister from the voting system.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It won't affect.
Do you know that we're talking about this now? We're talking about deregistering from the voting system, but it was not that long ago that I registered to go onto the electoral roll. I'm going to hit rewind that. What's going on with this? Oh, that's it. I give up. Stop the planet. I want off. But it's true, and I got this. I got this fancy kind of electoral registration card with this kind of crime watch picture on it and all that kind of jazz.
And look up the etymology of the word register.
Yeah.
It's to give. You're giving away.
Yeah. Well, I'm taking it back.
You're taking it back. Exactly.
I am taking it back. After this, I genuinely mean it. In fact, what I'll do is I'll document my journey of doing it.
Brilliant.
And I'll share it.
Fantastic.
You know, because it's okay to have words and say, I'm going to do what you say, but I'll follow up.
Brilliant. I know you will.
I'll follow up, and I'll do a video journey and a video journey, but pictographs and.
We'll be in touch anyway, because I want to show you my proof there about how I.
Yeah, I need to see that. I'll probably need you to explain it to me in layman's terms.
Yeah.
You know, because you'll probably hand me documentation or share documentation with me, and I'll be like,
no.
What does any of that mean?
No, I won't bamboozle anyone. I speak a lay language.
Good, because I'm good at layman's terms.
Yeah,
you know, unless you want to talk about engineering stuff, things get different then.
No, I like.
We'll talk about flux capacitors.
My engineering ability is lefty loosey, righty tighty.
Good enough. Good enough. Yeah, that makes you a fully qualified engineer. Well, hey, look, I'll tell you, it's been genuinely fantastic to talk to you about that stuff today.
Appreciate that, man.
And I really appreciate the learning experience for me. That's what I like about these podcasts, is really the learning experience. Because I walk away with all these new tools for my tool shed.
Yeah.
You know?
Now this is the basic. This is the introduction to the subject, because you know, there are people like that can bring you into some very deep water. You know, and talking about birth certificates and birth certificate fraud.
Off is the thing.
You see, the people will drown in that information.
Yeah.
You have to.
Baby steps.
You have to take the first step first. You know, you can't be jumping into the deep end when you don't know how to swim. You know,
paddle and pull first.
Yeah. This is the first step, and I'm staying here.
Well, you sharing the paddle and pull information with me is going to be the first step. Brilliant. And I genuinely will document my journey with this.
Brilliant.
So that I can share it online.
Yeah. Because this needs to happen globally.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, you have friends in other countries, they need to look into this subject as well, you know. Like, my wife is French lady, and I've got them investigating the subject in France as well, because they all have the same problem.
Good.
They've all got the three-part stage.
I've got quite the following in the States.
Excellent.
You know, so whether that's of any use to them or not, but you know, I'll share it. You know, and if they call me out, I'll just be like, look, I'll talk to Murlock. I'll just send them in your way. Oh yeah. No, here.
Being undated.
So yeah, no, it's been awesome, and thanks very much for coming up.
No, thank you for the invitation. Appreciate that as well. Thanks, man.
I've really genuinely very much enjoyed it, and now I'm busting for the toilet. So yeah,
that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.